Hi, and welcome back to the Word Gardener. If you don't know what the Word Gardener is all about, please look at the previous clips. They build on from each other. We are up to word gardening tip number 2, and I'm Lucia Smith, speech pathologist. All of these tips are free, and we'll get to where you can share them at the end of this clip. This gardening tip, this word gardening tip, is all about asking questions. And this particular type of question that I love to use in our word gardening is the choice question. But we'll get to that in a tick. First, let's just talk about questions. Speech pathologists will often tell you questions can be communication killers. And I agree. Imagine if you can't talk, or if you can't talk much at all, and somebody just keeps asking you questions. What do you want? What colour's this? What does a cow say? Where's the doggy gone? If I can't say the words, I can't say the words, right? If I could say them, I would say them. So you probably shouldn't be using a lot of just open questions like that. So let's have a look more about how to use questions, for good and not for evil. All right. Remember, thinking back to word gardening tip number 2, we talked about setting up communication temptations. And here we've popped the snack food up on the shelf where our child can't reach them. We're tempting them to communicate. But there are 2 things there and we're not sure what they want. So of course we've got to ask a question. So tick, you've got a communication temptation. Well done. Let's think about asking an open WH question, one that starts with a WH word. And I might just say plain old, what do you want? Now remember, if I could say it, I would say it, says the child in his head. If I could say it, I would say it. So you probably shouldn't be asking many open WH questions. All right? Let's have a think about another type of question. I could ask a yes-no question. My child will surely be able to respond then. I could say something like, do you want a banana? And they can either go, mm-hmm. They might respond with banana or nana, but all they really have to do is, mm-hmm. Right? Or they might say, mm-mm, and I might have to say, do you want a yogurt? Yes, no questions don't necessarily lead on to word growth. There's a sort of a sneaky way we can go about that, and this is called the choice question. The choice question is we sort of do a lead up. We might do the lead up. Do you want the banana or the yogurt? And often we will use our hands when we're asking them. We could even grab those objects down. We could say, do you want the banana or the yogurt? But at the moment, this doesn't look too much like a communication temptation because a child can just grab the one that they want or touch the one that they want. So make it into a communication temptation. Offer the choice. Do you want the banana or the yogurt? And then sort of hold them together and maybe a little bit away from the child. You're hoping that you've given them those words, they just have to copy them. And that's the beauty of the choice question, is that you're providing the options. They don't have to think of them. They can just try and copy the word that they want. All right, let's have another little think. Maybe it's time for a drink. So the lead-in is time for a drink. Do you want milk or juice? Now, you haven't gone and prepared the milk and prepared the juice because, why do that? You may just use those hands then. So when you put forward a hand, you are going to say one of the words, and when you put forward the other hand, you're going to say the other words. And the reason I do the hands, it almost highlights the choice that you might want to copy as a child. You might say, let's drink milk or juice. Also, children often love being asked a choice question because it gives them some sense of control as well. Milk, juice. Okay, Let's, however, think that your child is already able to say milk and juice, and often they do. And when they want a drink, they might come up and say milk. In my head, I'm going to try and lead them on to saying, I want milk, or just plain old want milk. So I can use a choice question to try and elicit that, to try and help that single word grow into two words. I could say something like this: time for a drink. Do you want milk or want juice? So again, I put my hands forward when I'm offering the choice, and I say want milk or want juice. So really you either copy want milk or want juice. Now the child might still just say plain old milk or plain old juice, but at least you are offering them want milk or want juice. They're more likely to copy want milk than when you just ask, what would you like to drink? Okay, here's another example. You might say to your child, here's the lead up. Where should we play? Outside, pause, or inside? Okay, there are the two choices. Just say your child is already saying the word outside and the word inside sometimes. So we might want to lead that, grow that word into two words: play inside, play outside. So we could say, hey, where should we play? Play outside or play inside? Okay. However, look, sometimes when it comes to choosing ice creams, I must admit, I struggle with the choice. So we don't want to make the choice overloading. Some children, when you say, do you want to play outside or do you want to play inside? They're thinking, well, both of those sound great. I don't know exactly which one to choose. And some children will struggle with making choices, particularly those children who are a bit worried they might make the wrong choice, or who don't have the processing to actually think through the choices. Some children can go really into a bit of a passive mode. So asking choices is a great thing to do to try and help our kids be less passive. So sometimes I do what I call the setup choice question. And the setup choice question is where I know what my child really wants. But I am still going to ask a choice question, but the first choice I know they probably won't want. And the second choice is the one they will want. This also works really well with shy children who often don't speak at group time. I might say, hey, what do you think the weather is today? Have a look outside. Is it rainy or sunny? Now the answer is sunny, and this child who's quite shy in front of everybody else, I've pretty much just given them the obvious answer. All right, so I might know that my child loves juice, and I might say to them something like, time for a drink, do you want water or juice? Okay, I'm leading them into saying juice so they don't think, oh, I don't know, do I like milk or juice? If, they're partial to both of those things. One question I am asked by caregivers, by parents is, well, what if there's more than two choices? So sometimes you might have to go through a few lots of choice questions. But the other thing is you can just ask two. If there's an apple, a banana, and a yogurt, you can just say, do you want an apple or a banana? And if they went, and still kept reaching, I'd know they wanted the yogurt. Now, I'm not going to make life terribly difficult for them and then say, well, do you want the apple and the yogurt or the yogurt? I would then probably just follow their lead and say, you want the yogurt. And maybe when we talk about fill in the gap trigger phrases later, that might be something that you use. So you'll see how all of these tips start to work in together. But remember, when you go with your choice questions, it's all about going slowly with the gesture, a pause, and then offering the other one. Okay, so now we've done You're the Voice, Temptations, same choice questions. We will meet up here, I guess, in the next clip for word gardening tip number 5, fill in the gaps. And that was just the one I was referring to before. Remember, you've got downloadables on the website, And lastly, follow me on YouTube, particularly on the Word Gardener series, and please share these far and wide. I'll see you in clip number 5.